Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about The Evil Dead. And this movie came out in 1981 and is directed by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell. And I have talked about all three of these movies on my channel before. It was like a trilogy review where I just walked outside and talked about them and got interrupted because there were a bunch of cars driving by. And I personally just didn't really like how that looked, and so I decided to just do this all over again like 5 years later. And I was also curious to check these movies out again to see how they held up, and I think they aged better with time. And I had a lot of fun revisiting all three of them, but I'm just going to focus on the first movie for now. And before I get into that, just one last thing. No, I'm not going to be deleting that video anytime soon. I personally just don't want to support the idea that I should be erasing my own history. And I do feel as though this kind of puts out the idea that opinions change over time. And while I do feel kind of somewhat the same for all three of these, I do feel as though there's plenty to talk about at the very least. The Evil Dead. I've seen this movie at least 5 times at this point. Almost 10 times. And I've always thought the movie was fine. I saw it with both commentaries that were on this DVD. I saw the original cut, and then I watched it with the I'm just reading to see which one I saw first. The Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert commentary first, and then I watched it again without any commentary, and then I saw it again with the Bruce Campbell commentary, and I was like, okay, now I'm kind of enjoying this. And I do like this movie overall, but I will say out of the trilogy, this one is my personal least favorite. But I'll get into the whys as to that later. But for now, I'm just going to stick to my strengths about this film. This was Sam Raimi's second feature film. His first being It's Murder, which I haven't seen yet. And this movie was made pretty cheap, and on the back of the DVD, you can just read right there all the things that you need to know about it, about its history, just right there. If you want to pause and read that, I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Basically, it's a story about these characters go into a cabin in the woods, and a whole bunch of bad things happen because the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, gets unleashed because they play a tape, and a whole bunch of crazy things happen, and it's on a tight budget. And I do feel as though they were able to make a pretty effective horror movie, and I do like what it's able to accomplish. And one thing that I forgot about this movie in particular is how many close-ups of eyes we get. I completely forgot about that, and it was so fun to see. And I just found the visual presentation of this movie to be very strong, especially early on in Sam Raimi's career. And there's just so much that I really appreciate about it, and I do like the portrayal of these antagonist characters, the Deadites. I do find them intimidating and like a force to be reckoned with. And one thing that you do have to keep in mind is that this was made on a pretty low budget, and you're obviously going to find like a little early mistakes that are present throughout the film, and they had like no time, and this movie took like years to make, and they had actors that quit on them, and you'll obviously see like mistakes like the blood tube sticking out at one point, the Matt cutout of the moon, and Rob Tappert hiding in the bushes. You see all that, and it's a part of the film, and it's very, very sad that those things are kind of just erased in the Blu-ray and 4K versions of this movie. Like, the only way to watch the true original cut of this movie is to get one of the original DVDs, unfortunately, which is right here that I did watch. And those things I do acknowledge and find to be like, yeah, that's just a part of the movie. And it kind of has some charm to it to show off, like, yeah, it's not perfect, but you made a movie. And despite it not being perfect, it's still enjoyable as a whole. Not saying that all movies are like this. Just because you have a lot of mistakes in your film doesn't automatically mean like what you put out is good. I'm just saying like just be comfortable with the mistakes, and you can still make a good movie despite all those mistakes. But going on to other things that I did like, I did kind of like the music in the film. I felt as though it was effective. It was kind of reminiscent to other things that I've heard, but still, I didn't think it was terrible. And also, I do like the presentation of, I forget what it's called, like the POV of this force coming towards these characters. Like, that thing is like terrifying, and it's impressive at how it's pulled off. I love it in all three of these movies. And I do love Bruce Campbell in all three of these movies, but one thing that kind of stands out with him in this movie in particular is that it kind of feels as though he's playing the character in this movie very different from the character in the later installments. Like in this movie, he plays it a bit more straight and a kind of serious man of few words and doesn't really do a whole lot. And that's pretty much all there is to his character and not much else. Like, I don't really find him to be that interesting of a character, but that problem is fixed for me in the sequels, for sure. I do like what they do with his character later on in this franchise, but overall, would not replace Bruce Campbell. Love him in all of these movies, and this movie is under 90 minutes, and I will admit, I am happy that it is very short, but there were points where I was getting a little bored when it was just Bruce Campbell, because I don't really find his character to be that interesting. Like, I personally find Scott like a much more entertaining character. Like, there's more to him, and I found him and like Ash's dynamic to be like kind of fun to watch when we got all these characters, and I do enjoy the presentation of how all this chaos begins, and just it never stops. And I do find it kind of funny the necklace that Ash gives his girlfriend. It's basically like, I don't know if that's like a thing that I would want to give to anyone personally. And I remember in either the first movie or the second movie, I listened to the commentary on both movies that even Bruce Campbell acknowledged, like, yeah, it's kind of just this dumb thing or whatever, and he doesn't really like it. I might be misremembering that, but that's how it sits in my memory. But anyways, The Evil Dead, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend that you check it out. It's still fun to watch. It's an effective horror movie. It actually made me feel tense at points, and there's lots to appreciate within it. And despite me not fully connecting with it, I did have a good time overall, and there's plenty about it that I do like I've said many times. So with all that being said, I'm going to give The Evil Dead a 6 out of 10. You might have thought that I was probably going to rate it higher, and originally I went 5 out of 10, but rewatching it all these years later, I bumped it up by 1 point. And I did like the movie by the end of the day, and I just prefer where we go after in terms of what this franchise has to offer. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of The Evil Dead, and my social media links. It will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for, what do you know? It's Evil Dead 2. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching, and have a great day.